So Zena wrote in, how do you know when experiencing difficulties and challenges whether they are meant to be pushed through to teach perseverance or to teach you to let go and practice non-attachment? Yeah, and as Mary also pointed out after that, that's a great question. I think it is a good question, and I think the issue is that we want to know with our head, and I don't know if there is a good way to know with your head, because I don't think there's a good way to know anything with your head at the moment. And I think that's part of what we're letting go of as a collective and as individually, this idea that we should know and that we want to know, and that we should know with some degree of clarity or certainty. I don't think pushing through anything is particularly useful at the moment. I think because the problem when we're pushing through something is we're down at the level of the problem, right? We've made the problem almost bigger than us if we're pushing through it. I much prefer the vernacular of stepping around or stepping over a challenge, because that implies that we're more expansive, and I think that's what's valuable. When you're working from the perspective that a challenge is to be pushed through, you've made the challenge bigger than you, and even just the very the visual of pushing through something seems like awful hard work. So definitely perseverance is required and is a useful tool to have, right? A useful attribute to be able to draw on, to have the perseverance to get knocked back by whatever challenge or problem that we're facing multiple times, and not to quote unquote give up too easily. See, I think a lot of the time humans and the way we've been trained is this idea of we have two choices. We either persevere and push through, or we give up defeated and try something else, right? That's this idea that when a challenge comes up, either we're going to push through it or we're going to give up and run away from it. That's only two choices in an infinite number of choices on how we can engage with the experience of having a challenge arise in our field, right? Because that's all it is. It's a challenge arising in our field, and it is just an experience, as opposed to some sort of test that either you're going to push through and persevere, or you're going to give up and run away and try something completely different. There's so many different ways that you can mentally connotate or perspectivize this opportunity to engage with the situation of having a challenge arise, and I feel that it's really beneficial for us to all sort of practice this sort of expansive thinking around this, and to get out of the idea that it's a binary choice, either push through or give up. So I think even in choosing to maintain perseverance, we can practice non-attachment, to be willing to dedicate some effort towards overcoming a challenge without being overly attached to having to succeed, and to not allow ourselves to think that if I don't go all in, then there's no way I can succeed. I know that's the old sort of coaching mentality, right? You need to fully commit to doing this, you need to fully commit to succeeding, otherwise you're destined to fail. I don't think that's 100% the truth. I can understand that there is, for some of us, some of the time, a requirement to get a little bit more invested in what we are choosing, as opposed to giving sort of a half-assed or half-hearted attempt at doing it just to sort of show that we didn't give up too easily. The kicker here is to choose to not be in the mindset where a defeat is somehow a personal failure, right? That's the dissociation that allows us to move through the world in a much more graceful way, is to apply a decent amount of effort towards doing something because we are committed to that, without attaching our own self-worth to the outcome. That then allows us to be much more open to receiving guidance as to how we overcome, rather than push through, any particular challenge that comes our way, and knowing when it's appropriate to let go of that path that we're trying, that the challenge has appeared on, and to try a divergent path. And the whole, with any of that, we're practicing non-attachment, because we are no longer attached to the outcome as some sort of verification that we are worthy and that we're good and that we're successful. We can be successful with choosing different pathways and choosing different letting go techniques, etc.